Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Hey, how you doing? I hope you had a Merry Christmas. My name is Greg Knapp. I'm in for Chad on The Chad Show. And you can jump in at 844-DIG-CHAD, 844-DIG-CHAD. You can go to thechadshow.com. Lots of ways for you to be a part of the program. And I'm going to talk to you about the latest in impeachment because it's still a big story. But I want you to know we're going to get into a lot of other stuff. And one of the things I want you to know is all throughout the show today, I am going to sprinkle in optimism. I want you to be happy about what's going on in the country and around the world. How can we be happy? There's nothing but horrible things going on. We've never been more divided, and people are horrible and awful, and there's more violent crime than ever. It's just not true. It's just not true. And I have facts to back it up. Got a couple great articles where they've gone through world surveys and world studies and national studies and all kinds of stuff to show us, man, there's never been a better time to be alive. We have just lived through the best decade in the history of mankind. And people don't want you to believe that. No. Some people make money off your misery. And they want you anxious. They want you worried. They want you thinking that the whole world is about to collapse because it helps them make money. It doesn't help you, but it helps them. And I'm here to tell you it's just not true. So we're going to give you some optimism. Something to take to that New Year's Eve party. So hang tight for that as well. But I do want to keep you up to date with what's going on with impeachment. So let's start with the story that was out there today. Oh, I think we got one. We're gonna flip this Republican. And then if we flip, let me see, 67, 52, we have to get all the way to the, about 18 more people. And then we can, wait, what? Yeah, we got to get 67 people to remove Trump. And there's 53 Republicans in the Senate. So we may have flipped one. So the big headline, Wall Street Journal, many others, Murkowski disturbed by McConnell's Senate impeachment strategy. So they're talking about Senator Lisa Murkowski, Republican, Alaska, and they're taking a little bit out of a interview she did at a local TV station in Alaska. And the implication here is that she's about to flip. She's so mad at McConnell. This is nuts. And if she flips, maybe another Republican will flip it. Yeah, are you really going to get 67? Well, no, we might not be able to get 67, but you never know. If we can get the rest of America behind this. Have you seen the polls? The polls have been trending Trump's way as you've been trying to impeach him. Because even people that don't pay that much attention are like, what, again? Really? This is all they got? Are you kidding me? And they're doing it in such an unfair way? No, this is not working. This is going the opposite direction. I think we got a little bit of audio where President Trump is talking about Nancy Pelosi and about the impeachment and about how unfair it's been. Give a listen to this.
She hates the Republican Party. She hates all of the people that voted for me and the Republican Party. And she's desperate to do. Look, she got thrown out as Speaker once before. She lost like 63 seats, 61 or 63. Tremendous, a record-setting number of seats. I think it's going to happen again. She's doing a tremendous disservice to the country. She's not doing a good job.
I want to hear the beginning of this again because there's something that President Trump said here that I've heard him say over the last 2-3 weeks. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I didn't notice it before, but it seems like a shift, and I think it's brilliant strategy. Listen to this again.
She hates the Republican Party. She hates all of the people that voted for me.
Stop. She hates all of the people who voted for me. That's brilliant. Now, some of us have been saying that for a long time, ever since Hillary Clinton said that you are deplorable. When Hillary Clinton came out and said that you're a deplorable, and she went down the list, you're a bigot, you're a sexist, you're a homophobe, you're all these kind of things she went through. That's when people like me and many others in talk radio and other places started saying, you understand, they're not just mad at Trump. They're mad at you for voting for Trump. They don't just hate Trump. They hate you because you voted for this guy, which means you must support him, which means you are just as bad as he is. So when they're coming out saying Trump is this, that, and the other, they're calling you this, that, and the other. Now, of course, many of us, like me, if you don't know me very well, I voted for President Trump not because I thought he was some kind of moral giant. I don't think he is. Not because I love the way he interacts with people. Quite often I don't like it. Not because I love all of his tweets. Some of them I think are great. Some of them I think are horrible. But I voted for President Trump because I liked his policies way better than Hillary Clinton. And I think he's as good morally or better than Hillary Clinton. How could you say that? Did you see what Hillary Clinton did when she was Bill Clinton's wife? She still is Bill Clinton's wife. Well, kind of. But when he was president and she had the war room to go after the bimbo eruptions and she would lie for him and all the stuff that she did to the people that were in office before her, to get my people out, get their people out, get our people out. I mean, all this stuff. You're trying to tell me she's going to try and claim the moral high ground? So I think most people looked and said, well, neither one of them are really morally superior, that's for sure. And his policies are way better than her policies. He's the guy that actually has done something of business. She's only been in politics her whole life. He actually wants to shake up the system and try something different. He actually wants to make America great again. He actually wants America first again. Heck yeah, I'm going with this guy. But see, what make America great again really means is taking us back to slave times. Wait, what? That's what they think. So when you got all this going on, and then people see that the Democrats are trying to impeach Trump again, when Nancy Pelosi admitted last week that they've been trying to impeach him for 2.5 years, people are tired of it. And especially the independents, where you can have a real big shift in this election cycle. But hey, Murkowski is disturbed by McConnell's Senate impeachment strategy. Aha, see? They can flip one. Here's what she said. When she was told about, what do you think about Senator McConnell saying he does not want witnesses to testify and he plans to work with the White House? She said, when I heard that, I was disturbed. To me, it means that we have to take a step back from being hand in glove with the defense. And so when I heard what Leader McConnell said, I happen to think that has further confused the process. Aha, see? She's disturbed. But the very next paragraph, 9 paragraphs into this Wall Street Journal article, Ms. Murkowski also criticized the impeachment process in the House, suggesting Mrs. Pelosi cut corners to rush a vote. Speaker Pelosi was very clear, very direct, that her goal was to get this done before Christmas, Murkowski said. Yeah. And the House Democrats voted to impeach without hearing from potentially important witnesses. Why? Well, because they either didn't subpoena them, or when they did and the White House claimed executive privilege, instead of taking it to court like normally happens, they said, oh, that's obstruction of justice right there, and we don't need to take them to court. So she's just as upset with the House as she is disturbed by Mitch McConnell. I don't think this changes anything. Although she said, I'll keep an open mind. Really? How many senators do you think right now have an open mind on impeachment? I love this about, Mitch McConnell, he's the jury. He's supposed to be impartial. It's a political process. It's not a criminal trial. Chuck Schumer admitted that his people worked with the Clinton White House during that impeachment. Tom Daschle admitted that his people worked with the White House during that impeachment. And now all of a sudden it's wrong? You think Chuck Schumer is impartial? You think Bernie Sanders is impartial? You think Kamala Harris is impartial? You think Elizabeth Warren is impartial? These are all Senate Democrats. They are not impartial. But out of all this, Senator Mitch McConnell is supposed to be impartial. What a bunch of crap. I mean, at some point, that's just what you have to call it. So I don't think this is anything like they're trying to tell you it is. Murkowski said she wants a full and fair process, citing the one against former President Bill Clinton. Oh, yes, that brings up another thing. When the Republicans and Democrats decided how they were going to do the impeachment of Bill Clinton, they voted 100-0 on the rules and procedures. And Mitch McConnell is saying, I would like to use those exact same rules and procedures now. And all of a sudden, Senator Schumer says that's unfair. In fact, we're going to get more details on that in just a second. But I do have a couple more cuts here from President Trump talking about all of this. Let's hear the other two that we have there, Phil.
Good position. We're in a very good position. Ultimately, that decision is going to be made by Mitch McConnell, and he will make it He has the right to do whatever he wants. He's the head of the Senate. People remember they treated us very unfairly. They didn't give us due process. They didn't give us a lawyer. They didn't give us anything. Now they come to the Senate and they want everything.
That's a great cut. That's a great cut because he's dead on. This is a great piece from Jonathan Turley. You remember Jonathan Turley? He's the liberal law professor who the Republicans called during the House impeachment because he said, look, I did not vote for President Trump. I won't vote for him again. However, what the Democrats are doing to the impeachment process is a travesty because you can impeach any president now. If you can impeach for this, you can impeach any president now. And he went over how they were absolutely unfair and did not give due process to President Trump. And yet now they're claiming that what he's doing is not fair, and he's not even doing anything. It's Mitch McConnell. But Jonathan Turley says, you know what the big problem is? The challenge for the impeachment trial is the Senate Democrats, not the Senate Republicans. Here's what he means. Senator Charles Schumer, go back in time to the Clinton impeachment, 1999. He opposed any witnesses for the Clinton impeachment trial, and he said bringing witnesses would just be political theater. Now, this is the same guy now that says you have to have witnesses or it's political theater. During the Clinton time, he said the exact opposite. He has declared now that witnesses in a full trial are essential and that a trial without witnesses would be deemed the most unfair impeachment trial in modern history. But that's precisely what he wanted for Bill Clinton. In fact, in the Clinton trial, Democrats moved to dismiss both impeachment articles as meritless. Now, it failed by a party line vote, with Democrats voting to not have any trial. Who were those Democrats that voted for no trial? Now, remember, Chuck Schumer said not having a trial would be the most unfair impeachment ever. Senator Joe Biden, Senator Dianne Feinstein, Senator Chuck Schumer voted for no trial at all for Bill Clinton. And that's what Trump is referring to. These guys, it's totally different if there's a R after your name or there's a D after your name, and they have done a total 180. And the mainstream media just acts like the Clinton impeachment never happened. They act like Schumer never said that witnesses were political theater, that he never said there shouldn't even be a trial. Now we got Mitch McConnell saying we want to use the same rules we used for Clinton, and Schumer's acting like it's the worst thing ever, and the media does not call him out on it. Well, we are. Turley did. Love to know what you think about it. We're just getting warmed up on this, and then I got some really good news for you. 844-DIG-CHAD, 844-DIG-CHAD. My name is Greg Knapp, in for Chad on The Chad Show.
I can't take it anymore!
Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
My name is Greg. I'm in for Chad on The Chad Show. Hope you had a very Merry Christmas. Get ready for the big new year. And we're talking a little impeachment for you, just so to keep you up to date. And I love Jonathan Turley saying the Senate Democrats are the real challenge for an impeachment trial, and it's the Democrats from Christmas past, 1999, Chuck Schumer, saying, hey, if you have any witnesses in this trial, it's just political theater. That was because Clinton had a D after his name, see? And we don't even need a trial. We're voting against the trial. And they lost, but they were voting for it. It's really to the fact that Republicans could actually argue that a trial without witnesses is impeachment Democratic style. That's Jonathan Turley. And he's right. If you look at this stuff. And the House spent more than 3 months without issuing subpoenas to some key witnesses. And then the ones they did that Trump challenged, they didn't even take them to court, even though they could have. But by the way, both Clinton and Nixon did the same thing, challenging whether certain of their aides could be subpoenaed. And they took it to court, and they lost in the Supreme Court level. Well, the Democrats didn't want to mess with that, so instead they just called it obstruction of justice. What? Yeah. By the way, the Democrats even outmaneuvered the Republicans during the Clinton impeachment and got an agreement not only to limit the witnesses to 3, but to bar public review of their depositions. And now, Representative Adam Schiff and the other House impeachment managers want to demand what they call fair play and equal treatment in the presentation of witnesses and evidence. Well, that's the very due process denied to the Republicans in the House investigation. Jonathan Turley points out, Democratic leaders repeatedly denied witnesses and minority hearing days for Republicans, right? They didn't get them. They allowed one witness for the Republicans who was not on staff for the entire House Judiciary Committee proceedings. Yeah. President Trump is right. Mitch McConnell gets to decide what to do here. And I'm going to go over a few things next hour that they could do in the Senate. And it's really up to the Republicans because they can pass it on a simple majority vote, and they have 53 Republicans. Now, they got to hold together, and Murkowski's disturbed by McConnell. So we'll see. But this thing is not going to go the way that the Democrats want it to go. But all they really have to do is flip 1 or 2 Republicans, and then they can say, look, it's bipartisan. Even some Republicans think Trump should go, and they'll use that for the election campaign. Well, we'll see. We'll see if that's going to hold them. I think they have way, way overestimated their ability to manipulate public opinion, even with the media on their side. And President Trump is out there talking about, hey, things are actually going pretty good for him with all this impeachment stuff. We got that audio, too. Let's hear that one. The one about his poll and his money and his fundraising and all that stuff.
All I know is my poll numbers are the highest they've ever been. Our fundraising in the Republican Party is the highest it's ever been.
It's going good. Hey, it's good to be Donald Trump right now, right? Well, that's not all that's going good for him. The stock market's going well. American money being repatriated is going well. In fact, the last decade's been awesome. I'm going to get you the details on that in just a second and give you a little optimism. My name's Greg Knapp, in for Chad on The Chad Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
And my name is Greg Knapp. I'm in for Chad on The Chad Show. Hope you had a fantastic Christmas, getting ready for the big new year. And I've got good news for you. I'm a glasses half full kind of guy, preferably beer. So I want to fill up that glass as far as we can, starting with your money. The Trump stock market rally, according to CNBC, is outpacing past U.S. presidents. The S&P 500 has now returned more than 50% since Trump was elected. That's more than double the average market return of presidents 3 years into their term. Now, of course, the president, no matter who he is not 100% responsible for whether our stock market goes up or down. In fact, I don't know that they're 50% responsible. It all depends on what they do, obviously, right? However, they get the blame or the credit for it no matter what. So under the Trump presidency, the S&P 500 has returned more than 50%, and the Dow is up 10,000 points. Wow. Historically, the third and fourth year of a presidency has the highest returns for a presidency. So next year, it could still get better. This first term's not even over yet. That's good news. And I'm going to get more into why that happened with the deregulation that President Trump did, with the tax cut that President Trump put through. Look at the economic news that we have. We've got $1 trillion in American money coming back from overseas that wasn't coming until the tax cut. We've got $17 trillion that was added globally to markets, stock markets all around the world. We've got a 50% return under the Trump presidency for the S&P and a 10,000 point increase in the Dow. We've got more job openings right now in America than there are people looking to fill them. We've got record low unemployment for black men and Hispanic men. We've got wages going up, and the fastest growth is in the lower paid wages. This is some pretty good stuff. This is a great time to be alive right now, man. And it's driving the Democrats crazy. The Democrats are in this unenviable position where they have to hope the economy cools off. They're actually having to hope for a recession to help them get a Democrat elected president. You don't want to be in that position where you're rooting against the American economy. And you remember, of course, President Obama, what did he say? Oh, yeah, not going to get back to what we used to have. 2, 3, 4% growth. Oh, those days are over, man. It's a totally new thing now. Nope, not going to do that. And they were making fun of Trump talking about getting 3 and 4% growth. What's he going to do? Wave a magic wand? Remember that? It was all over the place. Yeah. And it wasn't a magic wand. It was the same thing when we talked about how to increase energy in America. And remember when it was just drill, baby? It was just drill, baby, and all the above. And Obama's like, you can't drill your way out of this. Well, we went from really having troubles getting enough energy and importing it all over the place to now we are a energy exporter. We are the highest producer of natural gas and oil in the world. Just drill, baby worked. And by the way, Obama had nothing to do with it because he was stopping drilling on federal lands. It was all on state and private lands that led to the great boom in energy that we've had in the United States. So I'm just getting warmed up on the stuff that we should be excited about. And there's a couple great pieces. One's by Johan Norberg, and he's from the Cato Institute. And then we've also got one from Matt Ridley. He's a Brit, and they're both pushing the same idea. That the 2010s have been amazing. Health, wealth, the environment are all better than ever. What? There's no way you can say that about the environment. You crazy conservatives. The air is cleaner. The water is cleaner. We have more trees in the forest. We have more large animals on the comeback trail. We are actually using less energy in terms of our CO2 emissions. We are actually consuming fewer resources than we were 10 years ago. That's impossible. No, it's not impossible. Innovation, invention, conservation, new technologies. All right, let's get to it. The United Nations Development Report says the gap in basic living standards is narrowing. An unprecedented number of people in the world are escaping poverty, hunger, and disease. The World Bank says worldwide extreme poverty fell more than half in the last decade, from 18.2% to 8.6%. Now, that's when you're surviving on less than $1 a day. And that's been cut in half. How about that? That's not bad. Last year, the World Data Lab calculated for the first time more than half the world's population can be considered middle class. Now, that's a different kind of middle class than America. Middle class in America is the top 1% in the third world. We are the 1%. If you're middle class in America, you are the 1% of the world. So if you're middle class in America and you're mad at the top 1% in America, then why shouldn't the rest of the world be mad at you? Well, what do you mean? I'm not making that much money. You're in the top 1%. Well, it's different. I'm not mad at anybody. I say make as much money as you can. Because when you're making money, you're helping other people. The only way you make money in our economy is you're serving other people. No, that's not true. You can steal it. Yeah, well, most of the people that steal it end up in prison. The vast majority of people making money, 99% of the people that are making a lot of money in this country, they're doing it because they're providing a great product or service. And you willingly give them your money. Line up around the block to get a doggone iPhone. But Jobs was robbing people. No, he wasn't. Global mortality rate for children under 5 has decreased from 5.6% to 3.9%. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot. And by the way, they've also found that the more developed the country is, the less it pollutes. It's like this inverted bell curve. Well, no, that's not even right. It's really, it's. I can't even describe this graph because I'm not good at that kind of stuff. So let me just explain it to you in a story. When you are super poor, you don't give a rip about the environment because you're trying to survive. So if I've got to cut down a tree and burn it so my family doesn't freeze to death, I'm doing it. If I've got to burn dried cow patties in order to start a fire that I can cook something over so my family can eat and not starve to death, I'm doing it. I don't care about the air quality. I don't care about any of this stuff. I've got to live. But as I get more and more wealthy, and it's not life or death, I can start saying, you know what, I don't want to do that. I think that's going to hurt my water. I'm not going to do that. I think it's going to hurt my air. I'm not going to do that. I think it's going to hurt my forest. I think it's going to hurt these animals. When you have more money, you can do that. And that's what happens. And that's proven now. Death rates from air pollution declined by almost a fifth worldwide over the last decade. A quarter in China. That's from Our World in Data. Rich countries used less aluminum, nickel, copper, steel, stone, cement, sand, wood, paper, fertilizer, water, crop acreage, and fossil fuel every year. They're using less. Not just a less percentage. Less. Wow. Consumption of 66 out of 72 resources tracked by the U.S. Geological Society is now declining. So wait a second. We have more people. Check. The economy is growing faster. Check. And yet we're using fewer resources. Check. Now that just seems impossible. But that's because people leave out this thing called human ingenuity and progress and technology. And it's working. Annual deaths from climate-related disasters. Well, that's got to be through the roof. I mean, come on. Nope. Declined by 1/3 between 2000 and 2009 and 2010 to 2015. A 95% reduction since the 1960s. That's pretty good, isn't it? I mean, that's some pretty good news. You're welcome. Well, I'm not done. Matt Ridley saying very similar things over in the UK. We're living through the greatest improvement in human living standards in history. Global inequality has been plunging. Africa and Asia are having faster economic growth now than Europe and North America. Child mortality is at record low levels. Famine virtually extinct. Malaria, polio, heart disease, all in the decline. And he also comments on how we are using less stuff overall, not just in proportion to productivity, but less stuff overall. And for instance, he talks about a drink can. An aluminum drink can today that you have soda in, right, contains about 13 grams of aluminum, much of it recycled. In 1959, it had 85 grams. So from 85 grams down to 13 grams for the same drink container. Whoa. Chris Goodall is an inventor of electric vehicles, and he says the UK is now not just using relatively less stuff every year, but absolutely less stuff. Yep. It's amazing. Experts in the 1970s were looking at how much water we would consume by the year 2000. We're using half as much as they predicted. And that's not because there are fewer people. We have more people than they predicted. But because we've gotten better at how we do farm irrigation, which is the biggest use of our water. In fact, we've done a much better job on using our farmland. And even though we've got more people and the demand for more food and better food is out there, the productivity of agriculture is rising so fast that we are using less and less land for farmland. In fact, thanks to modern technology, we use about 65% less land to produce a given quantity of food compared with just 50 years ago. Forests are expanding, especially in rich countries, and on and on and on. You want to know the irony of all this? The irony of all this is the so-called greenies, the far left extreme environmentalists, the stuff that they're advocating could actually reverse the trend towards using less stuff and being more environmentally friendly. I'll explain that in just a second. 844-DIG-CHAD, get you on board. My name's Greg Knapp, in for Chad on The Chad Show.
No need to fear. We promise we won't give you a noogie and make you cry Russia, Russia, Russia.
Who is the fearless leader?
Fui.
Fui, fui, and double fui.
What is your language? This is a family show, remember?
Fui to family stew.
Nostrovia. This is Chad Benson.
And my name's Greg Knapp. I'm in for Chad. You can jump in at 844-DIG-CHAD, 844-DIG-CHAD. You can also go online to thechadshow.com, get all the latest. I was telling you about all this great stuff that's going on with our health, with our wealth, with the environment. And I know that some of the environmentalists are going crazy here and that, but the air's never been clear. The water's never been clear. We're getting more forests and more trees now in the rich developing countries. We're having a regrowth of, or a rebirth, I guess is a better way to say it, of, in these rich countries, populations of wolves, deer, beavers, lynx, seals, sea eagles, bald eagles. They're all increasing. And I love this from Matt Ridley, the guy from the UK. He says, a modern irony here. Many green policies advocated now would actually reverse the trend towards using less stuff, using fewer resources. Because a wind farm requires more concrete, more steel, than an equivalent system based on gas. A lot more. And environmental opposition to nuclear power, hindering the generating system that needs the least land, the least fuel, the least steel, the least concrete per megawatt. And burning wood instead of coal in power stations means you have to use a lot more land, you have to evict a lot more woodpeckers, and even higher emissions. And by the way, organic farming uses way more land than conventional farming does. So we've got technology putting us on this path to a cleaner, greener planet, and yet things like the so-called New Green Deal would take us the exact opposite direction. What do you say, AOC? I say you're crazy! Yeah, I know you would. But facts are stubborn things. Facts really don't care how you feel. 844-DIG-CHAD gets you on board the program. 844-DIG-CHAD. Have you been paying attention to the vaping panic? I love this piece from Reason Magazine because I get into this with my wife a little bit because she's really, really paranoid about vaping. Now, neither one of us vape, but she's just thinking that, look, we don't know what's in that stuff. It hasn't been that long that we've been doing it. I'm like, you're right, but we know what's in cigarette smoke, and we know that that causes cancer, and people have been vaping now for over a decade. Well, look at the people that just died. And that brings me to the point. 39 deaths attributed to vaping by the CDC. More than 2,000 lung injuries. However, it is not clear that any of them had actually used legal nicotine products. Many of them, in fact, all but 11%, admitted that they were vaping more than just nicotine. Pot is a big one. Black market e-liquids. That's where we're seeing the real problems. An analysis of lung tissue samples from many of these injured lungs showed exposure to toxic chemicals. One possibility, vitamin E acetate. Now, it's in illegal THC vapes. That would be the marijuana vapes. Now, that stuff's safe to swallow, but may be hazardous when vaped. And that may be leading to a rare form of pneumonia caused by fat particles in the lungs. Cut to the chase. What this article from Reason is saying is the CDC's out there telling people, be careful, don't vape, it could cause lung cancer. And yet it really looks like illegal vaping is the problem. And there's no doubt that legal vaping with legal e-cigarettes and legal e-vape products is safer than smoking cigarettes. 2015, Public Health England said, best estimates show e-cigarettes are 95% less harmful to your health than normal cigarettes. In fact, a controlled randomized study, the New England Journal of Medicine, e-cigarettes are nearly twice as effective in smoking cessation as alternative nicotine replacement products. This stuff is actually good for somebody who's already smoking cigarettes to get them off the cigarettes. And yet, oh no, we have to ban the flavors. Well, banning the flavors could stop some people from vaping who will go back to regular cigarettes, or make them buy the black market flavor, which is what's actually going to give them the lung problems. But hey, you know, we're from the government. We're here to help. My name's Greg Knapp. I'm in for Chad on The Chad Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Knapp. I am in for Chad on The Chad Show. You can go to thechadshow.com. You can call in at 844-DIG-CHAD and tell us all what you think. 844-DIG-CHAD. Got to get you the latest on what's going on with this whole impeachment thing, because it's still going on. And then we got to get into some other stories. I don't understand why people are mad at Michael Bloomberg. He's trying to rehabilitate women in prison, and for that, the left is going after him. We'll get you the details. And then I've got some updates on what's going on with illegal immigration in our country, some problems there. And did you know that when you say Merry Christmas to someone and you're a conservative, it's really F you? Wait, what? Yeah, I will try and get into all of those before we run out of time. Oh, let me start with Pete Buttigieg. It's Buttigieg. That's what I said, Buttigieg, right? Close enough. This guy is pushing out the same old socialist trope about Jesus. The last, 5-10 years, socialists have been putting this message out. Pete Buttigieg yesterday on Christmas. Here's what he tweeted. Today I join millions around the world in celebrating the arrival of divinity on earth, who came into this world not in riches, but in poverty, not as a citizen, but as a refugee. Everything was fine until he got to the refugee part. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Oh, are you cussing? No, I didn't say Jesus, Mary, Joseph. I said Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. They were not refugees. I mean, did the guy read the Bible, or is he just... No, he's just pushing left-wing talking points. Because Joseph and Mary were called by the government to register and to do a census and to pay taxes. Rome wanted the money. They wanted the census. They wanted the registration. But no. He was a refugee. So what they want you to really believe, the far left wants you to believe that if you're Christian, Jesus was a refugee and you wanted him taken in. So obviously you need to take in every refugee in America. Doesn't matter whether they're really refugees or they're made up. Just like they try to tell you that Jesus was a socialist. Jesus was not a socialist. Well, he told you to share stuff. Yeah, he said to voluntarily give. God loves a joyful giver. That's voluntary, where you say, I'm so blessed by all the things that God has given me. In the overflowing of my love for God, I'm going to give to other people. Because I believe, and because of his love for me, and because of everything he's given me, I'm going to give to help other people the way Jesus says we've got to love each other. That's not socialism. Socialism is the government forcing you to do it. Socialism would have been if Jesus said, we need to set up governments that will force people to give all their money to the government and redistribute it. That's not... At least get it right, people. Come on, man. But they'll use anything and everything to push their agenda, even when it doesn't fit. They will twist it until they make it fit. 844-DIG-CHAD gets you on board the program, 844-DIG-CHAD. So let's start with some of this impeachment stuff. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked, but that just annoys me every year. At least know the story. Jesse Jackson said that at some point. He's a reverend. He knows better. They were not refugees. They were ordered to go there. In with the good air, out with the bad air. There's something in The Hill here by Bradley Blakeman that I really liked. And he wrote it a couple days ago about what the Senate can do. See, the Senate has choices. The Senate has options. There's no requirement in the Constitution for a trial at all. In fact, President Trump spoke out about, hey, it's up to Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader. It's up to Mitch McConnell what happens now in the Senate with this impeachment thing. Let's hear that.
Very good position. Ultimately, that decision is going to be made by Mitch McConnell, and he will make it. He has the right to do whatever he wants. He's the head of the Senate. People remember they treated us very unfairly. They didn't give us due process. They didn't give us a lawyer. They didn't give us anything. Now they come to the Senate and they want everything.
Yeah, he's exactly right. They didn't give due process to the Republicans in the House impeachment hearing. They allowed him to call one witness that wasn't on staff. They They did a lot of it underground in a bunker. They leaked out what they wanted the American people to hear. And, of course, a compliant media went along with it. And McConnell can do whatever he wants. Senator McConnell's out there saying, hey, I'm just asking Chuck Schumer to go with the same rules that we did under the Clinton impeachment that we approved 100-0. Why won't he go along with that? Chuck Schumer didn't want a trial under Clinton. Chuck Schumer didn't want witnesses under Clinton. Now, all of a sudden, he wants everything. Chuck Schumer voted for no trial under Clinton. So the Senate has choices. Here are some of the choices, according to this piece. And it's some pretty good stuff. Pretty good options here. Bradley Blakeman pointing out, and if you don't remember who Blakeman was, he was a deputy assistant to President George W. Bush. So look, the Senate could do a motion to dismiss before the start of the trial. You just dismiss both articles of impeachment. And guess what? You need 51 votes for that. That's it. It's a procedural motion. You need 51 votes. The Republicans have 53 Republican senators. If they hold all but 2 of them, they could just dismiss the whole thing. Or the Senate could begin a trial. And at any point along the trial, if they believe that there's no reason to go any further, they could have a vote again, and they would only need 51 to end the thing. Now, remember, you need 67. You need a 2/3 supermajority to convict a president on impeachment and remove him from office in the Senate. They've got 52 Republicans. That ain't happening. 53 Republicans, sorry. So there's another option. The Senate could conduct a full-blown trial. They could go as long as they wanted, as long as they thought it was helping them. They could do the whole thing. And at the end of that trial, they could once again put forward a motion to dismiss, and they would once again only need 51 people to vote for them. Simple majority. And then finally, there is a nuclear option. And the Senate majority could make a procedural motion. And they could say this: I move that we adjourn the beginning of this trial until November 4, 2020, so the American people can decide the fate of President Trump. Just punt all the way to the election. And if President Trump is reelected, then they say dismiss the trial, never do it. And if he's not elected, you don't have to worry about it because he's not president anymore. You could do that too. Well, wait a second. No, if the House brings the articles of impeachment to the Senate, they have to have a trial. Well, they have to start moving on a trial, but there's nothing in there that says when. There's nothing in the Constitution that says the Senate must immediately begin a trial, or within 5 days begin a trial, or within 10 days, or 5 months. There's nothing in there. Just like Nancy Pelosi is saying, hey, there's nothing in the Constitution that says when I have to bring the articles of impeachment to the Senate, so I'm going to wait, okay? By the way, I've heard like one reporter ask her about, I thought you said that this was so pressing to get President Trump out of office. He's such a clear and present danger. He's such a danger to our national security that we've got to go as fast as we can. That's why we got to get this done before Christmas. how can you reconcile that with now holding back sending it to the Senate? I mean, if you've got to get it done right now, if it had to be done before Christmas, then why are you just sitting around on these impeachment articles now? Well, because we're trying to get a fair trial. No. In the House, you said it's such overwhelming evidence that everyone agrees that President Trump should be impeached. Well, if that's true, then you don't need any other witnesses. You don't need any other evidence. You don't need anything. Just send it over and let's get it done. I've heard one question on her about that. Maybe I missed some. But they're certainly not holding her feet to the fire on that. What do you think? 844-DIG-CHAD, get you on board. 844-DIG-CHAD. And I love this from Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell was on Fox and Friends a couple days ago. And they were asking him, hey, Pelosi hasn't brought the articles of impeachment to you. What do you think of that? He says, I'm not anxious to have this trial. So if she wants to hold on to the papers, go right ahead. And then he said, listen, I asked Chuck Schumer, Democrat in New York, all I asked is that the Senate impeachment trial be held like the trial for President Clinton during his impeachment. Those rules were voted on 100-0 at the time, including by Senator Chuck Schumer. But until then, we'll keep confirming judges. Oh, did you see this? This was awesome. Congressman Jim Himes, Democrat, Connecticut, furious, just like Nancy Pelosi, that Mitch McConnell keeps confirming President Trump's judges. That's probably the biggest legacy that Trump's going to leave. The judges. Because everything else that a president does can easily be overturned. If it's executive orders, the next president can just do the exact opposite executive order. Unless you're Republican and then all of a sudden the judges say you can't. But that's what's supposed to be able to be happening. And even, regulations that you're able to wipe away from executive authority, the new executive can put back on. Now, laws that are passed and signed into law, that's a little bit harder. But there's an awful lot of stuff that's easy to overturn. But it's difficult to replace all the judges that you get on the bench because these federal judges are lifetime appointments. So this guy, Himes, is really ticked off. We're getting plenty of stuff done. There's some 400 bills out there that have passed in the House of Representatives. The reason they're not going anywhere has nothing to do with distracted Democrats because every week we pass bills. It has to do with the fact that Mitch McConnell has converted the United States Senate into a machine to approve judges. A judge-approving machine, Mitch McConnell. Well, what does he mean? How many judges? What are we talking about here? I'm going to get you the details on just how many judges already in 3 years, and it's making the liberals' heads explode. We're going to get to that, and I'm on Mike Bloomberg's side here. I think he's getting a bum rap. I think Mike Bloomberg is simply looking to rehabilitate women in prison, and I think he deserves a little credit for that. We'll explain that one, too. 844-DIG-CHAD, get you on board. My name's Greg Knapp, in for Chad on The Chad Show.
Take a fake news break. Check out the really important news of the day at our website, ChadBensonShow.com. Once there, click on Chad's free podcast and get real. The Chad Benson Show, where truth and the American way live. Print free.
Hey, how you doing? My name's Greg Knapp, in for Chad on The Chad Show. 844-DIG-CHAD, get you on board. 844-DIG-CHAD. And I was talking to you about Mitch McConnell turning the Senate into a judge-confirming machine. Democrats are very upset about it. And what exactly does that mean? How many judges are we talking about? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's get right to it. According to Mitch McConnell, we've confirmed 50 circuit court judges. Barack Obama did 55 in 8 years. McConnell says we've done 50 in 3 years. Obama did 55 in 8 years. Whoa. And he said the judges that we've confirmed will transform the courts. See, he wants to transform the courts. Well, President Obama said he wanted to transform the nation. Well, that's okay, but he wants to transform the court. We knew it. He's going to try and take over America through the courts. Okay, wait a second. Here's the thing. Liberal judges have been trying to take over America through the courts. Because liberal judges believe that the law is a living, breathing document. And it really depends on public opinion and international law and how things have changed over time. Well, the problem with that theory is that means the law means nothing. If you can interpret it however you want to based on the way the wind blows, then it means nothing. Constructionist judges, some will call them conservative judges, that doesn't mean that you're ruling in a courtroom based on your conservative beliefs. No. It means that you are conserving the meaning of the Constitution when it was written. That we know what they meant when they wrote it. That's what the law means. If you want to change the law, there's a way to do that. You can change the law at the state level. You can change the law at the federal level. And if we're talking about the Constitution, you can amend the Constitution. But you don't let 9 men and women in robes change the law on their own and usurp the power of the legislative branch and really of the people. So transforming the courts back to courts that actually believe in the Constitution and actually follow the law. Now, let's get to the big numbers. Are you ready? In just 3 years, the Senate has confirmed 120 judges on district courts, 50 on circuit courts, 2 on the Supreme Court. Nearly all are in their 40s or 50s with lifetime appointments. We're at the point where it's almost 1 in 4 federal judges nominated by President Trump and confirmed by the Republican Senate. 1 in 4 in 3 years. Oh, it's got to be driving them crazy. I mean, it has got to be driving the liberals nutty that Cocaine Mitch is rolling along with his Trump judge train, turning the Senate into a judge-approving machine, according to the Democrats. That's a lasting legacy. 844-DIG-CHAD, get you on board, 844-DIG-CHAD. Michael Bloomberg back in the news, and I'm here to stand up for Michael Bloomberg. I mean, this guy's trying to help women in prison, trying to give them a little job, trying to get a little jingle in their pocket before they get released. You know, maybe when they get out, they can continue to do this type of work. And the type of work is making phone calls for Michael Bloomberg's campaign. Wait, what? Yes. And some are not happy about this. This is actually from Bloomberg News. Michael Bloomberg getting roasted on social media after his presidential campaign got caught using female inmates in an Oklahoma prison to make calls to promote his campaign. Now, what's wrong with that? The women are in prison. They need something to do. And why not let them make some calls? I would rather have a phone call from a female convict than a male convict. Why are you so sexist? I'm just being honest. And by the way, I thought all the calls coming out of the prison were collect calls. Are you actually getting this call? Yes, you have a collect call from Brenda. She says she'd like to talk to you about Michael Bloomberg. Who says yes to that? That can't be right. They can't be doing collect calls. No, it was actually a private contractor that was using the female power. Julian Castro says, my criminal justice plan calls for closing private prisons, paying fair wages to incarcerated individuals, a concern for people, not profits. Come on, Mike's just trying to help. Greg Knapp, in for Chad on The Chad Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I'm super excited.
My name is Greg Knapp. I'm in for Chad on The Chad Show. 844-DIG-CHAD gets you in. 844-DIG-CHAD. Online, thechadshow.com. I got some updates here on what's going on with the illegal alien situation. This is over at the Daily Caller. They found a man who had been living in the United States illegally, has been deported 6 different times over the last 2 decades to be their main suspect in a hit and run that ended up killing a woman in Colorado. Dude's been deported 6 different times. Well, Greg, American citizens do hit and runs. American citizens kill people with their cars, You're right. So what's your point? Well, my point is it didn't have to be an illegal alien that did this. You're right, it didn't have to be, but it was. Here's the point. This guy wasn't supposed to be here. He'd been deported 6 times, and if he had followed the law, he wouldn't have been here to kill this woman. That's the point. I know we have Americans that drive bad. I know we have Americans that drive without a license. I know we have Americans that do vehicular homicide or manslaughter or whatever this is going to be. We have Americans that'll do those jobs. That's the point. Juan Sanchez is the guy's name. And he's the main suspect in a GMC Sierra crew cab truck that ran into the car driven by Annette Conquering Bear. I believe she's a Native American. And Annette Conquering Bear was killed. This guy's bond now has been set at $500,000. Questions remain over how his immigration status will affect cooperation between federal authorities and local law enforcement. Now think about this. Here's a guy now being held on suspicion of killing a woman with a hit-and-run accident, been deported 6 times. Well, we don't know if Colorado's going to work with the feds on this one. What? Well, they passed House Bill 1124 in May. It largely prohibits local law enforcement from helping ICE apprehend or locate illegal aliens in the state. But he's not supposed to be here. Yeah. He's been deported 6 times. Yeah. Did a hit and run and the woman's dead. Well, yeah. But, we don't know that we want to work with these evil ICE people. We are living in bizarro world. How do these people keep getting elected? How did the left do such a good job of brainwashing half of America into actually believing things like, if you want to enforce the law, you're racist? How? It's been a long time coming, and it started with your children. And it started with how they're being taught in high school and college. And then it continued to go into magazines and television and movies and newspapers. And it's taken a long time, but they're getting there. They're getting there. And that's just one little story about it. How about this one? You got Gavin Newsom, the Democratic governor of California, Associated Press pointing out that he has paroled an immigrant who spent 22 years in prison for killing a rival gang member. And now he's been detained by ICE, and the left is just so upset. How could Gavin Newsom do this? How could he parole an immigrant and allow ICE to pick him up? I mean, how could this possibly happen? Once again, how do you convince all these Democrats that a guy who had the privilege of coming to America, murdered someone, spent 22 years in prison for it, and now it's bad on us that we want to send him back to his home country? Cambodian refugee drew support from immigrant groups, released Monday from a California prison after being granted parole in a murder case, then immediately turned over to federal agents for possible deportation. Possible? Greg, why do you hate people from Cambodia? This doesn't matter what color you are. Doesn't matter what country you're from. You came to our country and you killed someone. Bye-bye. You came to our country illegally. Bye-bye. You were kicked out 6 times and you kept coming back illegally and you killed someone in a car wreck. Bye-bye. You've had 3 DUIs. Bye-bye. In fact, you've had 1 DUI. Bye-bye. It's a privilege to come here. It is not a right. We cannot take everybody. I'm a first-generation American. My mom was privileged to come into this country, and guess what? She obeyed the law. This guy's attorney, it's deeply disappointing that the governor is choosing to work with ICE. How about it's deeply disappointing that your client's a murderer? How about that? The groups, the immigrant groups, want Newsom to end the Corrections Department policy of notifying immigration officials of impending releases after the agents file detainers or present an arrest warrant. I mean, why would we want to help? We certainly wouldn't want to help enforce the law, because that makes you a racist. Somebody's got to help me on that. So many things have totally flipped that make absolutely no sense. Martin Luther King Jr., we should judge people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. You say that today and you're called names. Oh, sure, you white privilege guy. Sure, you believe that. But I'm actually saying we should treat everyone equally, regardless of their skin color. Oh, well, that's not the way to do it, because we've got to treat people differently because they've been treated differently. And simply because you have this white skin color and everything works out for you and you have this privilege you won't even admit, now you think you can just treat everybody equally? Well, yeah, didn't that used to be the definition of somebody who was not racist? Now you're saying it's the definition of being racist. Yeah. Woo! And then the final one, the legal immigration thing. The MS-13 bus. This got some play. I don't think it got nearly the play it should have. And I'm glad that Jonathan Tobin wrote a piece in the New York Post about this saying, yeah, Trump should get credit for this. Trump's been out there talking about the MS-13 gang that started in El Salvador, has spread multinational, unfortunately in many cities in America, has a grip in certain areas of the city. And they're preying on people. And you know who they're preying on the most? The MS-13 gang, many of them are here illegally. They are preying on other immigrants, legal and illegal. Now listen, most illegal immigrants are not violent criminals. Now, technically, they're all criminals for coming into the country illegally, and some of them then go on to steal people's identities and social security numbers. That's illegal. They go on to use that to work and lie on their work application. That's illegal. They drive without a license or with a license that they got based on a false identity, and that's illegal. But they're not committing violent crime. I mean, most of them aren't committing violent crimes. I will totally agree with that. But some of them are. Some of them really are part of violent gangs. Some of them really are part of drug trafficking and human trafficking. Some of them really are. And MS-13 thrives on it. And last Friday in New York, the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office handed down charges against 96 members and associates of the MS-13 gang, some of them fairly high up in the gang. And if you look at these allegations against them, brutal murders, killing people and hacking their bodies up with machetes, violent assaults, horrific rapes, a large-scale drug selling operation, widespread intimidation of immigrants on Long Island. Yeah, this is what they do. But what was the press saying, and what were Democrats saying when President Trump was calling out MS-13? Oh, he's just trying to scare people. There really isn't that big of an MS-13 presence in America. He's trying to say all illegal aliens are criminals and animals. And no, that's not what he was saying. From the day he walked down the escalator, he did not say all immigrants. In fact, from the day he came down the escalator, what did he say? Remember, he said, he pointed to Hispanic people in the audience. He said, you know, when Mexico sends people, they're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending criminals. And he went through a couple different criminals and in some cases, other people. So he did not say all Mexicans are criminals and rapists. But that's the narrative, and that's what they keep pushing, and that's what they keep saying. And they're lying to you, but enough people are believing it, because if you say the lie often enough and loud enough, people believe it. As Tobin points out, Nancy Pelosi condemned Trump when he referred to the MS-13 gang members as animals. And she conflated what he said. He clearly said MS-13 before he said animals. And she conflated that to him saying all immigrants are animals. She knew that was not true. She lied. And she didn't care. And many in the media picked it up and ran with it. But what else do you call these guys that are killing, raping, cutting people up with machetes, and even killing and raping children, minors? And here's the thing that Tobin points out. If Trump hadn't been pushing this against MS-13, if it was the Hillary Clinton presidency, would they be doing this? The latest bust used conventional law enforcement, wiretaps, surveillance, monitoring the gang's social media activity, actually going after them. The left thinks the way to deal with the gangs is to stop efforts to enforce immigration laws, cease local cooperation with federal officials, and hope that they all just now work together. But if Suffolk County was a sanctuary county, it would have made it a lot harder to get these MS-13 people arrested. It would have turned immigrant communities into no-go zones where the gang members could continue to intimidate fellow immigrants who are their primary victims. See, New Yorkers learned back in the 90s, that whole broken windows policy, that when you go after every crime, it helps curb crime. When you tolerate illegal behavior of any kind, chaos and violence follows. The only way to deal with the horrifying violence that MS-13 does, zero tolerance for gangs, and effectively shut down the flow of illegal people and drugs between Central America and the United States. And whether or not you like the way Trump talks about it, he was right to focus on it and to prod law enforcement to act. That's Jonathan Tobin in the New York Post. True, isn't it? It's absolutely true. Where's the apology from the mainstream media? From Nancy Pelosi. Don't hold your breath. 844-DIG-CHAD, get you on board. 844-DIG-CHAD. Merry Christmas is actually code for something else now. I'll explain what that is. And don't look now, but Venezuela turning to capitalism? I'll get you the details. My name's Greg Knapp, in for Chad on The Chad Show.
I'm so tired. I'm exhausted.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Knapp. I'm in for Chad on the Chad Benson Show. You can jump in at 844-DIG-CHAD, 844-DIG-CHAD, and you are in. You can go to thechadshow.com. Did you know Merry Christmas is now code? Okay, this whole Merry Christmas thing, offending me thing. All right, here's where I am on it. I have no problem if you say Happy Holidays to me, Happy Hanukkah to me, Happy Friendsgiving. Whatever. Hello. I don't care. But if I want to say Merry Christmas, then I think I have a right to say Merry Christmas. If you don't like it, you can tell me you don't like it. But this is what's gotten people up in arms, is when they're told, like, I work at so-and-so store and I was actually told I can't say Merry Christmas. That gets people ticked off. Yeah, because, well, we don't want to offend anybody. Well, you're offending the people that want to say Merry Christmas. Everybody is going to be offended at some point. And here's the thing, of course, you don't have a right not to be offended. Well, now we get to a Salon contributor, Amanda Marcotte. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right. She wrote a piece called Merry Christmas, Trump's Merry Christmas greeting in Trump's America is code now. And it's code for F you. Wait, what? Yeah, it's called In Trump's America, Christian is no longer religious faith. It's white identity politics. Now, all those black Christians out there might think that's kind of strange. But yeah, it's white identity politics to be Christian in America now. She said, you know, that Christianity Today piece in the reaction, the one that was critical of the president. Anyone who defends Trump's criminality at this point is not acting out of spiritual integrity, but the opposite. They're people who have abandoned any semblance of morality or decency in their lust for power. That's exactly what I'd say about the Democrats right now. There has been no proven Trump criminality, and they're still forcing through this impeachment. They've abandoned any semblance of morality or decency in their lust for power. But I think Christians, I speak as myself, I'm a Christian. I look at President Trump's failings, and he has them, and I compare them to the Democrats' failings, and they have them. And I look at President Trump defending every human life, and I look at President Trump defending religious freedom, and I look at what the Democrats do with life and religious freedom, and I look at the policies of Trump and the policies and I say, oh, yeah, I definitely am supporting Trump over these guys. That does not mean you've abandoned any sense of morality. She goes on, conservatives have increasingly embraced the phrase Merry Christmas to mean basically F you to anyone they've deemed less than legitimate Americans. Okay, wait a second. Aren't you the one that called us deplorables? Aren't you the one that has called us every name in the book? Hey, Phil, remember that piece from President Trump where he says Nancy hates you and hates him? Can I play that one real quick? Listen to this.
She hates the Republican Party. She hates all of the people that voted for me.
There you go.
Republican Party.
Exactly right. She hates the Republicans, and she hates all the people. That's all we need. And she hates all the people that vote. Still going. She hates all the people that voted for me. Yes, Hillary Clinton comes out and calls you deplorables, calls you every name in the book. That's how they think of you. And yet this woman saying, oh, well, your Merry Christmas means F you because you don't think we're legitimately American. No. My Merry Christmas means Merry Christmas. Now, there's going to come a point, if you keep getting in my face, that my Merry Christmas might not mean Merry Christmas. But the first time I say it, I actually mean Merry Christmas. After a while, it becomes like, bless your heart, if you know what that really means. Yeah, okay, I guess I can kind of see where she's coming from. This woman's got Trump derangement syndrome so bad. She's the same woman that came out and said that the Hallmark Christmas movies are really fascist propaganda. What? Hallmark movies, as cloying and saccharine as they are, constitute the platonic ideal of fascist propaganda. She wrote this for Salon on Christmas Day. These all center around MAGA-style ideas about what constitutes real America. Now, I must admit, I don't watch these. My brother does. He loves them. I've seen ads for them. And from what I understand, they're old-fashioned, wholesome, family values-centered movies. And this woman calls that fascism. There's nothing in there about the government forcing you to do something. There's nothing in there about anybody forcing anybody to do anything. This woman has Trump derangement syndrome so bad, she's going after the Hallmark Christmas movies and claiming when you say Merry Christmas to someone, you're really saying F you. Woo! They just keep getting crazier, people. They're putting Trump back in the White House another 4 years, I'll tell you that. My name's Greg Knapp. I'm in for Chad on The Chad Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
And my name is Greg Knapp. I'm in for Chad on The Chad Show. You can go online to thechadshow.com. You can call up at 844-DIG-CHAD, 844-DIG-CHAD, and you are in. Okay, I got to start with something that is a little weird. And it's weird for a couple reasons. Number one, I literally have never watched the show Keeping Up with the Kardashians. When it first came out, I watched 5 minutes and said, you got to be kidding, and that was it. Well, they're still in the news all the time. So there's two stories on the Kardashians right now, and they're both about Christmas, and they're both on CNN. And one is about what Kylie Jenner gave her daughter, and the other one is what about Kanye and Kim gave their daughter. So Kanye and Kim gave their daughter a jacket that was actually worn by Michael Jackson. Okay, whatever. Supposedly $65,000. What? I know. But listen, it's their money. It's their money. I know we can all get upset and we can talk about that's ridiculous and that's a spoiled child or that's just a waste of money. But it's their money. They earned it. They can spend it however they want to. And the people they give that money to then spend that money the way they want to. And it makes the world go round. Okay? But it is weird, isn't it? Well, you know, Greg, if you think about it, with the amount of money that Kanye and Kim make, $65,000 to them is probably like $65 to the rest of us. Probably less. Probably like $5. So would you spend $5 to buy your kid Michael Jackson's jacket? Sure. So why not 65,000? I mean, you can look at it that way, percentage-wise, right? Well, Kylie Jenner is getting slammed on Twitter because, you know, the world revolves around Twitter. Getting slammed on Twitter for giving her daughter, her 1-year-old daughter, a diamond ring for Christmas. She put it up on Instagram. She's deleted it now because I guess, you know, her own people turned on her. Her own people being the people who follow her, I guess probably over 1 million people that follow her. And she put, press play. Okay, baby Stormy got some ice this Christmas too. And there's a picture of her daughter's finger with the diamond ring on it. And she's waving it around and wiggling it around in the video camera. And so some people couldn't believe it. She's got some criticism on social media. What a shocker. I mean, where would you ever think there would be criticism on social media? So this one lady tweets out, Kylie's so slow. She really got a 1-year-old a diamond ring. The Kardashian Jenner clan really go out their way to buy stupid expensive gifts. That's a quote. And then Jenner shared another since deleted Instagram story of another gift for her daughter, this time a pony. And the caption, okay, but Stormy had the best Christmas of all time. Well, and look, here's the thing. I'm torn. I got mixed emotions on this. You know, mixed emotions like your mother-in-law going off a cliff in a brand new Lexus. I got mixed emotions because, like I said, it's your money. You spend it however you want. You earned it, you spend it. I'm not here to tell you what to spend your money on. Now, if you're going to ask my opinion, if I was a friend of yours and you said, hey, Greg, I'm thinking about getting my 1-year-old daughter a diamond ring, I would say that's stupid. But that would be my opinion. If you went ahead and bought it anyway, that's on you. If you said, hey, I'm about to get my 1-year-old daughter a pony, oh, yeah, you know, pony could be good. Depends on where you live. Depends on how bad your daughter wants it. Is she going to, you know, end up riding ponies later in her life? Hey, man, it's your money. But on the other hand, are you freaking kidding me? Really? This is the way you think? And to say that she had the best Christmas of all time, that's probably the hardest thing for me right there. You actually think that what qualifies as the best Christmas of all time is simply how much money you spent on your kid. The best Christmas of all time is a diamond ring and a pony for a 1-year-old. I don't think so. I think for a lot of 1-year-olds, the best Christmas of all time is playing with their mom and dad in a cardboard box, like, you know, that the present came in, like we used to do. Or the best Christmas of all time for children is actually having a great family come together and hang out and no, that's way old-fashioned, Greg. Don't you know every kiss begins with K? Oh, I hate those ads. Hate those ads. Because I feel like what those ads are telling you is if you really want her to love you, you got to spend a bunch of money on a ring. Because that's what love really is. Just like, you know, that's how you get the best Christmas of all time. You buy a diamond ring and a pony. And that's why we have Americans who aren't as rich as Kylie Jenner and Kanye and Kim going into thousands of dollars in credit card debt that they don't pay off till next Christmas when they start it all over again. Because they think the way into your heart and the way to prove you're a good parent is to spend a bunch of money. All right, Grandpa Knapp's going back to sleep. But every once in a while, Grandpa Knapp has to be unleashed. I'm telling you, man, that is crazy. 844-DIG-CHAD, get you on board the program. 844-DIG-CHAD, love to know what you think about those presents. And I've been wondering about what Democrats think, especially the Democrat voters, because you look at these Democrat presidential nominees, and they all keep trying to out-left each other. They all start trying to go farther and farther to the left. And if you watch these debates, the farther left they go, the more applause they get. And so I started to think, is there really a majority of Democrats who think like these people? I mean, it can't be that far gone now, are they? And so we've got a Zogby Analytics survey that's out. Paul Bedard at Washington Examiner pulls it all together for us. And it looked at likely Democrat voters and a margin of error of 4.7 percentage points. And here's what the Zogby survey found. Likely Democrat voters. Do you support Medicare for all? 68% said yes. 68% for Medicare for all, which is the euphemism for nationalized medicine, which, of course, we were told was not what Obamacare was leading us to. Remember, people like me and others on talk radio, hey, man, this Obamacare thing, it's just a step towards socialized medicine. No, that's a lie. They're trying to scare you on talk radio. This is the whole thing. We're not trying to go any farther than this. We're just trying to help people who can't get in. Yeah, this is a step towards socialized medicine. You guys are liars. And what are they saying now? Obamacare was a good first step, but we need to go past that. We need Medicare for all. Is that not what they're all saying now? Just like we were told, if you like your doctor, you can keep him. If you like your plan, you can keep it. You're going to save $2,500 a year in premiums. All those were lies. We told you they were lies. You're welcome. Of course, we're not getting any apologies. All right, here's another one. Asked to likely Democrat voters, would you repeal the Trump tax cuts? 63% said yes, they would. Now, we've just seen in the first 3 years of President Trump's presidency, we've got a booming economy, better than we had under Obama, better than we had under George W. Bush. Yes, even better than we had under Clinton. And yet, those tax cuts were horrible. Wait, we're getting more tax revenue than before the tax cuts. I don't care. They were horrible. Wait, we brought back $1 trillion from overseas into American coffers. We don't care. Those tax cuts were horrible. There is record low unemployment for black men and black Hispanic men. We don't care. Those tax cuts were horrible. I mean, what does it take? And I'm going to get into the details of that in just a minute because we've got some great stories on that. Likely Democrat voters. Do you support the Green New Deal? 49% say yes. Have you read that thing? Read that thing. I mean, seriously, just go read that thing. You want to talk about killing the economy. 49% say, I bet you 95% of those people have not read that New Deal. I bet you they haven't. It just sounds good. Likely Democratic voters. Do you support reparations for African Americans? 43% are saying yes. What? 43%. Okay, how exactly is that going to work? Who should pay? Who should get it? How long did you have to be here? Do you have to have some kind of a genealogy tied back to somebody who was a slave? Is it for all people who are any kind of shade of black? Is it for, beyond the fact that it makes absolutely no sense to punish people today for what happened 200 years ago, all of that doesn't matter. Wow. All right, likely Democrat voter. Would you decriminalize illegal border crossings? 39% say yes. Do you want taxpayer-funded health care for illegal immigrants? 38% say yes. Now, remember, that was also something that some people said eventually this Obamacare is going to be given to illegal aliens, and you guys are all lying. Well, you got an awful lot of Democrats that want it. Likely Democratic voter. Do you support unlimited abortion? 38% yes. And then here's the big one. Do you support the confiscation of legally owned firearms from those who have not committed a crime? 36% of likely Democratic voters. Yes. Wow. Maybe these Democratic presidential candidates know what they're doing to try to win the primary, but I'll tell you what, if you can't even get a majority of Democrats to agree with that craziness, you better believe you're not getting a majority of independent and Republican voters. And you got to get some of them if you want to win. This is to the extreme. To the extreme. But like I say, there's a lot of good news even behind all that news. Global stock markets have gained $17 trillion in value just this year. U.S. companies have brought back $1 trillion under the new tax law from President Trump. And we've got some really good information about stocks in the economy. And here's the other thing. Remember, a president, no matter who the president is only responsible a little bit for the stock market and the economy. There's only so much he or she can do. But they get all the credit and all the blame. That's just the way it is, but it's not true. But I love William Krumholz. And he wrote this piece, Willis Krumholz, at The Federalist. He says, Paul Krugman said markets would never recover from Trump. The Dow is now up 10,000 points since he took office. Yeah, when President Trump was elected, Paul Krugman, Mr. New York Times economist, wrote, If the question is when the markets will recover, a first-pass answer is never. And now we just saw the Dow Jones go up by 10,000 points since Trump was elected. The S&P 500 up more than 50% since Trump was elected. We had the tax reform package, cut U.S. corporate tax rates from 35% to 21%. It quit giving really incentives for multinational companies to keep things overseas and not keep their money here in America and not do business here in America, really. And that really helped. Cut regulations like crazy. And under President Trump, wages for the lowest tiered workers are rising faster than they did under President Obama. Wages for non-supervisory workers are rising faster than managerial and professionals' wages. In other words, the lower income worker is seeing his wages go up faster than the higher income worker. That has not happened in a very long time, and it certainly did not happen under President Obama. That's some pretty good stuff. Hey, I got to get you a story about the union bosses, the big union bosses that are looking out for the little guy. Well, that's not what a federal investigation found. Get you the story on that one in just a second. 844-DIG-CHAD. My name's Greg Knapp, in for Chad on The Chad Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
Hey, how you doing? My name's Greg Knapp, in for Chad on The Chad Show. You can go to thechadshow.com. You can call 844-DIG-CHAD, 844-DIG-CHAD, and you're in as well. The union honchos, the big dogs, the big boss men, they're there to take care of the working man, the little guy, the middle-class man, and they're robbing them blind. At least that's what a federal investigation claims. Federal prosecutors say some of these former top officials at the UAW, the United Automobile Workers, spent lots of money on high-end cigars, four-figure dining, California villas and resorts. Gary Jones, one of the union bosses, he seems to be named in this. They're talking about $13,000 once at a cigar store, another $13,000 at another cigar store, up to $60,000 on cigars. Holy cow. How many cigars were they smoking? No, they were just very expensive cigars. Here's what the prosecutors say. They made a bunch of charges and fraudulent purchases via accounts they set up with hotels such as the Royal Palm Springs Hotel and the Loews Coronado Bay Resort. They had training conferences there, but the hotels then paid outside vendors on the UAW officials' behalf, and the feds say that was done as a way to conceal the embezzling of union funds for their own personal use. How much? Well, grand total of around $1.5 million. What? Detroit Free Press found that they misused about $1.5 million bucks, embezzlement of union funds, filing false reports, maintaining false union records, money laundering, conspiracy, and mail and wire fraud. That's all? Yeah, that's all so far. They went to an LG Prime Steakhouse and spent $6,500. This isn't like at a convention. This is like a few of them going out to dinner. The union officials spent more than $400,000 at local businesses in a 2-year period on expenses that included off-site condos and villas for themselves. An additional amount of nearly $400,000 spent on training and conference expenditures, and they put those in quotes, including meals and excursion expenses for the senior officials and their spouses. But remember, they're looking after you. They're looking out for you. You're lucky to have us, and you should be more than willing to pay your union dues. How dare you think you should have a choice on whether you pay for something like that, Buster? You just shut up and sit down and be glad that we're taking care of you. Well, you may be taken care of in federal prison now. We'll see how all that plays out. 844-DIG-CHAD, get you on board. Venezuela back in the news. The Washington Post, of all places, doing a pretty decent story here on the idea that Venezuela is realizing that this socialism doesn't work. And socialist Venezuela is, quote, flirting with the free market. Wait, what? Well, see, here's the problem. When you have people in your country starving so much they're eating zoo animals and flamingos, and 4 million people flee your country because they're about to starve to death, you start thinking maybe it's time for something new. I'll get you the details on it in a second. My name's Greg Knapp, in for Chad on The Chad Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Knapp, in for Chad on The Chad Show. You can jump in at thechadshow.com. 844-DIG-CHAD, get you in. 844-DIG-CHAD. We were talking about what's going on in Venezuela. You got 4 million people fleeing because they don't have enough to eat. And the inflation rate went up to 15,000%. Not 15%. Not 1,500%. The inflation rate hit 15,000%. Could you imagine? No, you can't. Because that's never happened here. 15,000% inflation. So they left. 4 million people fled the country because of the socialist paradise of Venezuela was killing them. They're eating zoo animals and flamingos. I'm not making this up. Well, it's getting a little better. Now, part of the reason it's getting better is 4 million people left, and those 4 million people are now living in countries where they could get a job and make money that actually has value, and they're sending it back to their relatives in Venezuela. In fact, they're talking upwards of $3.5 billion this year was sent back into Venezuela by people who fled Venezuela. You know, trying to help their families out so they don't starve to death. Here's the other thing. President Maduro finally figured this out, that if I don't do something to let people start making money, I'm going to get killed. So he's allowing some capitalism. They're allowing the U.S. dollar to be used. They're not controlling prices. They have restricted the taxes on imports. Here it is from the Washington Post. Ricardo Cusano, president of the Venezuela Chamber of Commerce. The government had been unable to restart the economy any other way. So it's doing what the people want by giving into the free market. The socialists are still in power, but they have lost the ideological war. Not here. Oh, well, our socialism is so much different than Venezuela. I mean, what we're talking about is just common sense. Venezuela just went too far. But any socialism is going too far, because what you're really saying is that the government has the right to force you to give away your hard-earned money and work as a slave for someone else. Well, you could say that about all taxes. You're right, and that's why we have to be very careful on how much we tax. The changes taking shape here are the product of a combination of factors. For years, the government strictly limited the use of the U.S. dollar. Last year, the government freed the exchange rate, more broadly legalized dollar transactions, eliminated massive import taxes. And now it's starting to work. Now it's starting to work its way through the economy. They've given up the attempt to control the retail prices. And guess what happens? When you don't artificially put low cost on a product, you get more of it. See, well, if we just make bread a penny, then everybody would have bread. The problem is, since it costs more than a penny to make the bread, people stop making the bread. And then you just don't have any bread. So they took off these price controls, and guess what's happening? They now have stocks of bread and chicken and beef. So farm production is coming back. Livestock production is coming back. And a big part of the improvement this year, as I mentioned, is the 4 million people fleeing the country. But back to the Washington Post. By some estimates, there are 3 times as many dollars in circulation now as bolivars. Bolivars are the currency of Venezuela. So there's 3 times as much in currency in dollars. And it's stabilizing the inflation. Here's what Maduro said last month. I don't see the process they call dollarization as bad, he said. It can aid the economy and the recovery of the productive areas of the country and the functioning of the economy. So you've got the socialist leader of Venezuela praising the dollar. Mechanics, electricians, engineers, architects, they're now charging in dollars. And more companies are actually supplementing their employees' salaries with dollars. And the economists in Venezuela say 60 to 70% of families are now regularly receiving some dollars. And it's making Christmas at least a little bit better than last year. But no. Capitalism is evil. Capitalism is what just destroys everybody. We just got to get to this socialist economy that, makes everybody equal. Yeah, everybody equally poor and equally starving like they are in Venezuela. Oh, but this will be different under Bernie. It would be different under Warren. It would be different under Buttigeig. It would be different under... No, it wouldn't. It eventually all gets to the same place. It's just a matter of time. As Margaret Thatcher said, the problem with socialism is you eventually run out of other people's money. But even before that, the problem with socialism is that it is other people's money. 844-DIG-CHAD, get you on board the program. 844-DIG-CHAD, and you are in. Sometimes you just know it's your time. When certain things happen, you just know it was your time to go. Case in point, CNN.com. There's a guy named, let me make sure I get his name correct here. His name is Subhradeep Dutta. He's 28 years old. He's from Minnesota. He went on a little trip to the National Monument, the Muir Woods National Monument there with all the redwoods. I would love to go. I've never gone yet. I can't wait to see the redwood trees. And he went hiking. What a beautiful place to go hiking. And a redwood fell on him and he died. Wait, what? That's when you just know it's your time to go, right? A redwood tree falls on you at 4:38 in the afternoon when you're on a hike? Yep, it was your time, buddy. He was pronounced dead at the scene at 5:01. Forensic post-mortem exam is scheduled for tomorrow to determine the cause of death. I can tell you the cause of death. He was smushed. That's the official thing written on the little death certificate. Smushed by a tree weighing countless tons. I don't know how much one of those redwood trees weighs. Are you kidding me? By the way, that national park was the most visited last year. More than 15.2 million people visited it. Dude's gone because of the redwood tree. Thanks for the downer, Greg. I'm just saying it was his time to go. Sometimes these things just happen. Oh, and I spoke about AOC with socialism a minute ago. Did you see her latest thing at her town hall? She said this a couple times now. She's on this rant if you say that she's giving away free stuff. Because that's her whole plan is to buy votes by giving away more and more stuff with other people's money. She's not paying for any of this. She expects you to pay for it. Now, her constituents, many of them don't pay at all because they're not paying taxes. But the other one's like, oh, yes, I'd gladly pay more taxes if I could soak the rich and just get this. So she was at a town hall, and she said, public education, libraries, and infrastructure policies are not free stuff. People like to say, oh, this is about free stuff. This is not about free stuff. I never want to hear the word or the term free stuff ever again. Okay, AOC, you're not a dictator yet. So just because you don't want to hear the term free stuff anymore, too bad. Because you're trying to give away free college tuition. That's free stuff. Free health care to everybody. That's free stuff. Open and free borders. That's free stuff. Forgiving all student debts. That's free stuff. What are you talking? Yes, it's free stuff. No, they're public goods. That's another word for free stuff. But you are right. It's not free. Somebody has to pay for it. People like me and people like you listening right now. You and I pay for this, and she doesn't want it to be called free stuff. And AOC has spoken, and you do not mess with AOC. No wire hangers ever. This woman is losing it, people. I never want to hear that it's free stuff again. It's free stuff. That's your whole bit. And people are calling you on it, and it's making you mad. Well, too bad. People in hell on ice water. It ain't coming. And while we're on the topic of going a little bit extreme, how about Nancy Pelosi? Did you see her tweet a couple days ago? Here's what's going on. Wisconsin has a state law, like most states do, that every so often you have to purge the voter rolls of people who haven't voted in, say, 7 to 10 years, because people move and they don't tell you. And then you've got people registered to vote in an area where they don't live anymore. And guess what happens? Voter fraud. People notice, oh, look, this person hasn't voted in 10 years. What we can do, we can send in an absentee ballot for them, and we can sign up, and then they'll send it to us, and then we'll send it back in, and they'll never be the wiser, and we can vote, and we can steal a bunch of votes. Well, that never happens, Greg. Yeah, it happens. It happens. So the law is saying we've got to purge these voter rolls. And so Nancy Pelosi tweets out. Now, remember, Wisconsin now is run by the Democrats. Democratic governor, Democrat-dominated legislature. They're running this thing. And Nancy Pelosi tweets out, it's beyond alarming that more than 200,000 registered Wisconsin voters will be prohibited from voting. Less than a year from the election, we must ensure Wisconsin Democrats have the resources to respond with a massive voter registration effort. You guys run Wisconsin. Well, yeah, but the judge told us we had to actually purge the rolls. It's the law. And it doesn't prohibit these 200,000 people from voting, by the way. Get this. If you're one of those 200,000 people, first of all, you're sent a letter, and all you have to do is respond to the letter and say, oh, yeah, I'm still here. I just haven't voted. Go ahead and keep me on the rolls. Done. If you've moved, then obviously you've registered to vote in another place, right? Because you can't vote where you don't live anymore. But even beyond that, let's say that you didn't see the letter and you go to vote, and on the day of the election in Wisconsin, they say, hey, you've been removed from the rolls. Are you prohibited from voting? Nope. Even the fact checker, I think it was at the Washington Post fact checker, said you're allowed to re-register in Wisconsin, even on election day. So they rated Nancy Pelosi's claims pants on fire. You are not prohibited from voting at all, and they're trying to actually stop voter fraud. And Nancy Pelosi likes voter fraud because she thinks it helps Democrats more than Republicans. 844-DIG-CHAD, get you on board the program. 844-DIG-CHAD. Wait till you hear what Bill Gates did when he played Secret Santa. And Chuck Todd says something very interesting about him being naive. We'll get you that, too. My name's Greg Knapp, in for Chad on The Chad Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
My name's Greg Knapp. I'm in for Chad on The Chad Show. You can check out more online at thechadshow.com. You can jump in at 844-DIG-CHAD. Bill Gates played Secret Santa. Evidently, there's this little Reddit Secret Santa, and he's been doing it for a while, and people know about this, and he always tries to do very personal Secret Santa gifts when he pulls somebody on Reddit. And this year, it's a woman in Michigan. He got her an 81-pound package. When she went to pick it up, it was too big for her car. She and her husband had to open it, break it up into smaller packages to get it into her car. So I'm thinking, oh, man, this is going to be great. 81-pound Secret Santa package from billionaire Bill Gates. This has got to have some super cool stuff in it. All right, are you ready? Here we go. Everything she got. Shelby's her name. And she looks like she's, I don't know, maybe mid-30s. Secret Santa package from Bill Gates. All right, this is going to be good stuff. Well, maybe some diamonds, maybe some fancy old wine, maybe a trip somewhere. Who knows? Maybe even a house. I mean, he's a billionaire. Okay, what do we got? A collection of books published in 2019 recommended by Gates. All right. Harry Potter themed Santa Claus hat. This is from a billionaire? Greg, I think it's what Shelby wanted. You just said earlier, Christmas is not about money. You're right, but it's a billionaire Secret Santa. Hylian shield earrings inspired by the Legend of Zelda. You're talking about that crappy TV show? She likes it, Greg. A handmade Legend of Zelda quilt. All right, we're going a little too far in the Legend of Zelda. A hammock with a bug net. Is there anything good in this? Candy. Almond Rocca, mint chocolate from Seattle Chocolate Company, and jelly beans from Jelly Belly. Man, this guy, Bill Gates, is really crazy. He's going way out with this stuff. 7 packs of different flavored Oreos. Cat toys for Shelby's cat. A cat-themed logic game. 8 hardcover books. A manuscript copy of The Great Gatsby. A candle inscribed with a passage from The Great Gatsby. 2 adult Lego sets. Wait a second. Is that sexual? What do you mean, adult Lego sets? I don't understand. It's for adults to play with. Adult Lego set. Yes. Okay, I still don't understand. Based, by the way, on the Hogwarts Castle from Harry Potter. And the other based on R2-D2 from Star Wars, although Shelby said she already had both of those sets. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought that was a bad gift and she already had it. A set of memorabilia inspired by the show Twin Peaks, including a shirt, a sweatshirt, a jacket worn by the show's crew members. Are we talking like a grip or are we talking like a star? A book by the director and multiple scripts from the show's second season. All right. Thank you, Bill. Oh, and a donation to the American Heart Association. That was nice. Boy, I guess they're right. Billionaires really do live differently. That's what she wanted. She needs to dream bigger. Listen, you like what you like, and she'll like what she likes. You're right. I'm sorry. I understand. And I want to give you a quick tip. I just saw this coming up on the Business Insider. An expert now on the lithium-ion batteries that your smartphone uses says if you are charging your phone all night, overnight, I do that, right? Plug it in right before you go to bed so it'll be fully charged when you wake up. When you do that, you're hurting the lifespan of your battery because the batteries don't like to be charged at 100% for too long. And look, all smartphone batteries age and they lose their life over time. But he said smartphone batteries don't like being at 100% for too long. If you do that night after night after night, you are shortening the lifespan of the battery. There you go. You're welcome. So what does that mean, though? Okay, so if I go to bed and my phone's barely charged and I want the alarm to work in the morning, I've got to plug it in, and then it's going to be charging too much and I'm going to be destroying the battery. Now I'm just totally confused. I don't know how to handle that. Come on, man. Oh, and NBC News' Chuck Todd, he gave this interview to the Rolling Stone, and now it's making its way through the internet, so people are talking about it more. So far, people have talked about how he messed up Toni Morrison with Maya Angelou, and some are saying that was his white privilege, but whatever. But what really got me, here's the headline from the Wrap. NBC News' Chuck Todd admits he was naive about the GOP's misinformation campaign. Huh? Yeah, he said, you know, when he was asked about Sean Spicer's lies during his time as the White House press secretary, Chuck Todd confessed he really believed they wouldn't do this at the time. He said he was naive. I think we all made the mistake of believing them. Oh, that's right, because the Democratic spokespeople for the White House never lie and never spin. And the Democrats never do that. Only the Republicans spin and lie. No, all politicians lie. All spokespeople lie. They just try and do it in a way that they can say wasn't really a lie. But now Chuck Todd knows. Oh, yeah. My name's Greg Knapp, in for Chad on The Chad Show.